Michael Erin Woody, who's our featured speaker tonight. And it makes a big difference to have elected officials on your side. People who aren't in it for profit or for fame, but people like Michael who just love this community and want to make it a better place for everybody, for the people who live here, for the people that work here, that want to visit here, but also for the environment, for all the creatures, large and small, and not just looking at, oh, what today, you know, really looking at how is this going to impact us in 100 years, or in 7 years, in 10 years. And Michael is running for the County Supervisor, District 2, which that seat is now held by Bruce Gibson. Bruce has been that representative for 20 years. He is the longest serving supervisor in, I believe, SLO history. Now, we were informed there was a meeting that, and what is it, NAC, Northern, what's it stand for? North County Advisory Committee. Apparently Bruce Gibson stated in that recent meeting that this was a done deal.
The $3 million.
I think that the whole thing is a done deal. Despite the fact that when we ask questions, they go, nothing's happening. Why is everybody so alarmed? Anyways, I'm getting off track, but I'm I'm honored to introduce and welcome Michael Erin Woody, and he is going to talk to you about himself and about his vision for our county future.
Okay. Mandy was talking about this earlier. I have a really neat PowerPoint presentation. But Mandy was talking about this earlier, and this brings up a real interesting point. And I'm going to say this in a way that I don't think a lot of people truly understand when it comes to creating groups and organizations like this. Even what I do, you get involved in campaigns or anything that you have to go to the community and say, hi, I have an idea, and this is what I'd like to do, and this is what I'd like to see done. I got really effective in being a part of groups, whether it be my tribal organization, groups like this, campaigns and everything, because I had to sit down, no matter if it's a political campaign or whatever it is, and you are beholden to them, because you have to go out there and hire these ridiculous professionals to do all this amazing graphic work and everything else. Or you can do it the way that beats the system, and that's what I call it. It's called beating the system. And that is, you learn how to use Adobe Illustrator, and you learn how to use Photoshop, and you learn that your phones can take really, really good pictures, by the way, if you learn how the little camera works and all these things. Anyways, that being said, this is on Adobe Illustrator. This port here, because you were talking earlier about ports, this is an O&M port. One of the graphics that we're doing for the campaign that you guys will be seeing, this is really good. This was actually the O&M port in New Bedford, Massachusetts, taken in 2024. So this is in the United States. So I have a lot of these kind of graphics that I can share with you guys on my hard drive and everything, if they would be helpful for you. And that's some of the things I'm going to share with you tonight is, because I know some people are saying, well, and because to me, I think it has a different message when you walk in somewhere and you say, this is in Scotland, and this is in London. And there's a strange disconnect I was discovering about 4 months ago with people when I would talk about offshore wind, and they would think, oh, but that's Scotland. That's whatever. They eat funky food and they don't put ice in their drinks. But as soon as I say, this is Cape Cod, all of a sudden it's like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. I vacationed there. I went to Boston. I went to Massachusetts. I went to, Martha's Vineyard. And it's like, yeah, go talk to these people out there. Read the articles in the New Bedford Light News and understand what they're doing to their region. Those people are mad as heck, and I'm being nice about it. They are fumed out there right now. And they have, their communities are just mad as heck over all of this going on. But anyways, I do have some photographs for you guys, if that would help, if I could share that with you guys, maybe this would help with some stuff.
Sure.
But what the marketing you guys are doing is off the chart world-class. But it's interesting because you learn real quick, you get really good people around you that have some great ideas, and it's like, wow, you can really, you can really move a community, and you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. And I will get this real quick, you're gonna film me doing this, I just know it. I'll give you an idea.
Excellent.
I'll pass this out. These flyers have to do with offshore wind. And I pass them out for a couple of reasons, one of which a lot of these have information on them that you've seen before. It talks about how we don't have the electrical infrastructure in this state for more electrical at this point. I mean, it's just, and nobody's talking about this. What they want to do is they want to build a train before we build the tracks. We know this. We also know that offshore wind, of all the types of carbon neutral energy sources that are out there, is by far the most expensive form of carbon neutral energy. One of the things that surprised me over the last few months is meeting before some small neighborhood groups around coffee tables, a couple small neighborhood meetings, because people kind of get in tune that there's an election going on. And I've had people, and I think they're very well-intentioned people, voters, just they're not special interests or anything else. And their arguments lean towards, well, you know, I've had them say, you know, well, I kind of disagree with you on this whole offshore wind. I don't think it's a bad idea. And I always ask them, I'm very polite about the whole thing, is, you know, well, tell me why. Tell me what you see is great about this. And it never fails that they all say the same thing. They think it's a choice between offshore wind and blades that we'll never see out in the ocean, because their perception is we're going to put these turbines out there that we'll never see, or maybe see the tippy tops of them. And then after they put those out there, they're going to go to Home Depot and buy an extension cord, run it onshore and plug it in, and voila, everything lights up. And in their mind, they're not really understanding the whole concept of how this works. So I would have to sit down and explain to them, let me explain to you how this system works. And a lot of them believe wholeheartedly, and they're polite, and they say, well, you know, I would assume that it would be really cheap to do it out in the ocean as opposed to doing it on land, because if you do it out in the ocean, it's the ocean, as opposed to doing something on land, because we all know what it's like to get permits on land to even put, you know, a second bedroom on your house or something like that. And so their general feeling is that, well, you know, we need more energy. Why not just do these out here and just plug in? But if we don't do those, we have to do more oil and all of that. It's probably the cheapest form. And then you just have to sit down and explain to them that's actually not true. And when they start discovering that those expenses, when we talk about 4 times the expense of comparable onshore carbon neutral energy sources, solar and wind, for example, they're taken back. And then when I have to explain to them, by the way, that's not just some offbeat study from some strange website, you know, I think the earth is flat.com. This is from the United States Department of Energy. This is from Stanford. This is from Berkeley. This is from Yale. These are people who have studied this. The energy industry knows that it is the most expensive form of carbon neutral energy sources that there is. And oddly, when you say that phrase, here's the response that all of us have been getting back, and I'm sure you guys have too, is, well, it has not reached the economy of scale. They're right. But here's the thing, and I have to explain to, and I explain to these folks as well, is that when somebody says it's not reaching the economy of scale, here's a good way to look at it. Here's a good way to look at it as I explain to these groups. Oops, just whacked your microphone. Here's the best way to look at it. I know today I could go to Best Buy, and I can go buy a brand new, probably 80 some odd inch 8K television for $5,000, because it hasn't reached the economy of scale. They're not selling a lot of these. But I also know that same 8K television is, give it about 3 years, $799 at Costco. Okay? I know that. But here's the problem. If I buy that television right now for $4,000 or $5,000 and put it on my credit card, in 2-3 years when it's going for $799, I'm still paying off that $4,000 or $5,000 on my credit card. When this offshore wind project goes in, not reaching the economy of scale, we're still paying for it. We will always pay for it. And I have to explain to people that, you know, that's just a term that people throw around that likes to convolute the masses. Oh, but we'll put it in, but when it reaches the economy of scale, all our rates will go down. No, you put it in at the wrong price. If anybody ever says it hasn't reached the economy of scale, I tell them the same thing. Thank you, you just made my point.
It never will because they have a limited lifespan.
Yeah, and therein lies the other side of it. At least with my television, I can keep it for a long time. But this doesn't work that way. So therein lies so much of the frustration is because I've discovered in meeting with these groups and they start seeing firsthand what we're talking about. That what we're not talking about in O&M stations and there's 3 different types of ports you have to put in O&M, and Mandy's gonna tell me what the other 2 are real quick.
Staging and integration.
Thank you.
And manufacturing.
Yeah, in manufacturing. That I have to explain to them that, remember, your ports, this is not a small little building with 2 little boats and a handful of people that are gonna go out every week or so with a handful of tools and WD-40. These are massive industrial ports. That's what these are. And when you set this type of industrial designation along any of our coastal communities out here, anybody who understands history, we understand this. Once you put that in, that becomes the cancer. Because the next project comes in and the next council, the next CSDs, the next PSLs come in and they say, hey, I've got this proposal for this project. You know where it would go good? Let's put it right next to this here. You already have this here. You already have these towers that go X amount of 100 feet in the air. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Hey, that's a good idea. And while we're at it, why don't we put this over here? And then when we put this over here, we could put this. Why, you know, I know we've had this height limitation here of 25 feet to keep our town really small. Let's put it up to 50 feet now. Let's put it up to 75 feet. That's how development works. It has always worked that way. I don't want to leave a region that people travel the world to see to another generation when we're all gone and have them say and look at old pictures and say, this is what it used to look like? How did we get this? That's what we're talking about here. And that's where I get so frustrated when I see the kids from Cal Poly. And I see them walk into meetings like this. God bless them. I was 21 and stupid at one time too.
Me too.
And if you think I look kind of funky with my hair now and stuff like that, nobody gets to see those old pictures, and thank God, nobody ever will. Those are in the witness protection program. My mother has them with their cupcake recipe. Okay, but here's the thing, is that, and we all know this, and I'm not ashamed to even admit this, but I think we all remember this. You know, when you're 20 years old, you don't have that enough life experience to understand, hey, this used to look like this, now it looks like this. You go onto a college campus today and you tell them that you were born in 19 anything, they're mortified. They lose their mind over that one. And then I tell them, you know, they talk about things that, you know, well, I've heard about this in history. Yeah, there was this president that we used to have. Oh, yeah, it was in our history books. His name was Bill Clinton. And, or they talk about these things. And it's interesting because my mother, she will kill me for saying it. Is this being recorded like on the internet? Okay, I won't let her watch this video. On December 11th, she's going to turn 80. She was born in 1945. She watched the 3 stacks go in, which were, you know, in the 1950s and 1960s. She watched those going, well, remembers those. She was in high school at the time. She remembers all the problems associated. She remembers how those went in. My grandfather passed away in 2004, and he was born in 1913. He knows all the stories out. He knows where all the bodies are buried out here before he passed away. you know, and when you understand that you can walk anywhere and you can see, gee, I wonder what happened to this 80 years ago. How did we get to this point that we have this? How did we get to the point where we have the 3 stacks down there? How did that, but there is a historical story to it. And it was all the same arguments in the old newspapers that we're seeing today. It creates jobs. We need to do this for business. We need to do, this is a great idea. And we look back and we say, what a mistake this is. And all we're trying to tell these kids and tell everybody is that, listen, don't repeat history. Stop telling us that we're bought off by the oil industry. Stop telling us that we are bought off by, that we don't know what we're talking about. Actually, we do. Actually, we know exactly what we're talking about. We know exactly what we don't want to have happen out here. That's what makes this organization so incredibly effective. You guys have done something that I haven't seen done in a long time, especially in this environment, and that is you brought together diverse groups of people who, in a lot of respects, and a lot of us in this room, I'm sure, have disagreements on a lot of other issues. It could be energy, it could be nuclear, it could be gun ownership, it could be what to do in the Middle East, it could be all kinds of issues going on. But where this organization works is that we understand the importance of protecting this area. People travel the world to see this area. If I lived in Avila and knew this was gonna go in, and knew this was the start of this is not a joke when I say it, I would sell my home. I would move somewhere else. I would take my investment and say I would go somewhere else. Why? For the obvious reason. I don't live in Avila because I want this. I lived in Avila because it didn't have this. But if you put this in there, I'm leaving. And we see people doing this all the time. And that has always been, and what's sad about this is to know, and the gentleman who was on the video that you were playing, he said it really well. What's sad is you get groups like us in here, you get Arceline and Tribe in there, you get the Northern Chumash in there, and we really want your input. We want your input. No, you don't. Okay? You actually don't. What you want is you want to do your 2 hours of listening to us so you can check your box and say to yourself, okay, we listened to you, thanks, don't care, and you move on. I was absolutely thrilled and slightly shocked that Port San Luis, that those people down there are starting to say, hey, we're starting to listen to this. Back in 2016, when this whole mess started, it started with a handful of meetings out in Morro Bay. Some of you might know, some of you might have been there. And it was a group called Trident. Is that right? Trident.
Yes.
Wind?
Castle, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah. Oh, that was who it was. From Washington State or something like that?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
original.
Okay, so they come in and they tell the story about how, hey, everybody, just want to introduce ourselves. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Just want to introduce ourselves. Tell us who we are. We're just looking at doing this. It's not a big deal. Nothing's been done. We're just talking so we can talk. And we'd like to get your input. These are going 30, 35 miles out west, out off the ocean, 600 feet tall. You'll never see them because of the curvature of the earth mathematics. You will never see them from your beaches. Okay, maybe about 100 square miles. We haven't done anything yet, though. Okay. We all sat there and left the room that night and said, we're screwed. We already know where this, we've all of us in the room, we've been through this before. If I was 20, I would have believed them. In another year, I'll be 60. I now know how the game is played. Once they show up, the game has already started. We already know how this works. Because nobody goes forward on any of these major projects, and it could be a development project here in town, it could be a hotel project, whatever. Nobody goes forward on a project until they've had lunch with all the elected officials, the government officials, and everybody in place, and they line everybody up. You okay with it? You okay with it? You okay with it? You okay with it? Okay, let's get the ball rolling. And then they start going. And then it all starts. That's how it works. We knew when they showed up, we all walked out and we said, we are screwed. We got a fight on our hands. So lo and behold, 7 years later, I think it was in 23, when the lease agreements were approved. Thank you. We saw those go in, and what did we end up with? We ended up with agreements for 400, almost 400 square miles, about 600 turbines, 1,100 feet tall.
No,
And-
there's one turbine per mile, so it'd probably be more like 300.
Okay,
Yeah.
In the first phase.
Because there's, yeah.
Yeah.
It could expand, yeah.
yeah,
They have
And-
plans for another area farther north into Monterey,
yeah, okay.
so it could be.
And that's what got me on this, is that, you know, I saved all these newspaper articles because I'm a lunatic this way, and because I was so upset over this, so we saved everything, and we were able to track the Tribune's own newspaper articles. Now, the Tribune editorial board, who I have agreements and disagreements with, I don't know why that they have not taken the time, and I'm hoping and praying one of these days that they'll start coming to their senses and saying, listen, you guys are all you guys all sit around and eat your, you know, $20 sliders on Thursday night downtown, and you guys aren't listening to what's going on. Read your own newspaper. Take a look at your own newspaper articles, how this has changed over the years. You know, you guys have been back there supporting all this, and you have been so dismissive of every one of us, because we don't walk in there with, you know, expensive clothes and fancy websites and everything else, and they don't understand that, look, you know, we live here because we love being here. You know, we live here because this is what we want. This is our lifestyle. You know, stop dismissing us because we walk out here and we're all in flip-flops and torn jeans and whatnot. If you would like to, at any given day, I'm sure everybody, we could all just take our, you know, if you really want to hear our resumes and we can all get back into our nice clothes and everything else, we can all do that for you. We can all put our diplomas on the wall, we can have that game as well. But that's not why we live here. We live here so I can walk down the street to the Bay Theater not knowing what's playing because it's one screen, and that's what I want. That's my life. I spent my whole life wanting this lifestyle. Stop ruining it and telling me how it's good for me, because then you're just going to destroy it forever, and we'll never get it back at any time. So that becomes the interesting side of doing this. Now, as some of you know, I'm also a member of the Salina Tribe of Monterey and San Luis Obispo counties. Salina Tribe, the Salina Tribe of Monterey and San Luis Obispo counties. Our tribal group, Manny, you and I were talking about this, is that like any group, we're, and she appeared, Manny appeared before our board last week before, whatever it was. 2 weeks ago. And we were so thrilled to have you there. You know, we haven't been there to support you guys at the level that we're doing now for one real simple reason. And the simple reason came into, we get asked to do so many things. We just want to make sure that when we do something that it's important to you guys, honestly. Because we found ourselves getting involved in things. We get this many requests and we only have this much bandwidth. And sometimes when we get involved in things, we get frustrated because we feel like, I guess nobody really cared, you know, because we'll sit there and deal with a government agency for 7 or 8 years or 10 years. And we gave all of our input, we did all of our research, and we found out that, oh, you just needed to check a box because you really didn't care about anything you said about anything. So we get, it's not that we get jaded about it, but we're just careful on those things. We as a group, as an organization, have been against this from the beginning. We always have. We just didn't know a good avenue that, we didn't think anybody cared, honestly, that anybody would listen to us, because we just thought, you know, if you look at somebody who's Indian, we're really cool because we have great skin, great hair, and cool jewelry. Okay. It's not colored. Honestly, it's really not. Yeah. Ted knows, yeah. I don't have that problem. And it's hard sometimes because, you know, when we explain to people that when you hear indigenous groups and indigenous stories, and when we say that oceans are extremely important to indigenous cultures along the California coastline, that's not something we're saying because it sounds really cool. That is the truth. Historically speaking, oceans are extremely important to indigenous groups. We live in a society where we live basically in a westernized Christian world. Hey, I've got a Christmas tree. I'm on board. I get it. So I'm not, trust me, I'm not offended by it. But here's the thing though, is that sometimes when you do live in that world and you grow up in that world, you forget that when a group comes forward and says, look, when our souls die, we don't go to heaven or hell. Our souls go out to the end of the earth, off the ocean. And it's called transmigration. Yeah, it's a transmigration of souls. So our souls go out to the end of the earth throughout the ocean to an island called Tepecanic. And when our souls go out there, every night when you see on our California coastal oceans, the sun goes down, you see that big red sunset that we have, that people travel the world to see. Those are our ancestors celebrating their lives every night when the sun comes down and they take the fire from the sun and they use it to celebrate their life every night. That's indigenous cultures that you're talking about. So when we go in and we try to tell these stories, the importance of these stories to these governmental organizations and these people who are making a heck of a lot of money off of these investments, they go, yeah, that's really nice. Anyways, thanks for letting us check a box. We spoke with you, check. And so we as a group have had to reach a point where we just said, gosh, are we even effective? You know, I mean, it's great. I mean, we'll do this if people want to listen. When we found out quite a while ago, actually, with React Alliance, and that our voice matters to you, that we can help you, that our working together, we're thrilled. I mean, and we're just elated over it. And I'm sure you're getting the same from the other groups too, the Mona Tucker's group and whatnot. We're elated over this because it actually people start more so understanding who we are. I mean, the history of California Indians is, I don't want to ruin your Thanksgiving, but it's not the best. California is the only state in the Union where the federal government and the government did not negotiate with any of the Indians. They were literally forced off their land. I can come in here anytime and tell you about the 18 unratified treaties, what happened with everything, and the whole mess of California and everything. But suffice it to say that all of that got destroyed. And preserving that and saving that has been extremely difficult and is still to this day. So we are painfully grateful as a tribal organization and saying thank you to you guys for listening to us and for saying that our voices matter too, because it means the world to everybody sitting around that table in our entire tribal organization. So thank you so much. And Josh, who you've been working with, is fantastic. And obviously anything I can do.
He's a great young man.
Oh yeah,
I
he's
was
wonderful.
really impressed.
Oh yeah, he's just fantastic to work with. We were really, I had to call him and say, Josh, do this, come on, do me a favor. So that's really been great. I suppose I have a slideshow about this campaign and everything. But yeah,
May I ask, how much
Please.
your campaign is going to be related to the farm? I mean, what are your prime talking points to the community at large for your win?
Oh, let's get to my PowerPoint presentation. I'm excited.
I just got one thing that really stands out to me with this. Is that housing that's about the picture?
Yes,
So I mean, that,
Oh, is it? Wow.
to me,
Yes.
that's the biggest impact, and I'm sure this wasn't there before and there was housing. I mean,
No.
as far as the thing to look at it at,
bingo.
is that, I mean, they're now in an industrial zone, it was not an industrial zone.
No,
No,
so that's
not at
actually
all.
from that area. That's New Bedford. It's not Cape Cod. It's offshoot of it, but it was kind of the perfect location for it
Bingo.
because it was semi-industrialized.
Mhm.
And so I actually did a documentary film about it. We should talk afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk afterwards. But yeah, so that ended up being just like super convenient for every party involved
Yeah.
for that particular location. But yeah, your read on the temperature back east is
right on the money.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right, and that's a great way to put this, is that this became the optimal area to do it. And exactly
Except
what,
for those people who are living in the homes.
there you go.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with this, is that when you see something like this, you're seeing the same argument that goes on in some place like this. This is why, they were saying, okay, what are the optimal places to do it here, obviously? And the Morro Bay is in Avila. And to the issue of the original meetings that took place in Morro Bay about the offshore wind, the ironic part is that none of us were ever told, and none of us knew for many, many years, that when they said 30, 35 miles offshore, the inference was 30 to 35 miles due west offshore from Morro Bay. And when they kept calling it the Morro Bay Wind Farm in all the headlines and everything, everybody walked away and said, oh, I live in Cambria. Oh, I live in San Diego. That's their problem. I'm up here in Cambria. I got Lynn Spies, who cares? And then all of a sudden, it came out, it's like, oh, it's northwest of Morro Bay, 20 miles off of in Cambria. And a lot of people who lived up there had no idea. The sad part, neither did we. Yeah, we didn't, I didn't know. I didn't know until I first started seeing all the maps for the lease agreements. I was like, whoa, where's this going? And we heard it from the Hearst family as well, that they were taken back. Everybody got shocked by this one. So this is the game they play. If I can get to your question about running for office, yes, this is an important part of this campaign. The other one being, there's still a twofold thing going on. This and the discussion of onshore battery plants, because of what was going on with Morro Bay with the battery plant. And obviously, the fire on January 18th in Moss Landing created a real problem, as we know.
We don't have a whole lot of time left.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
No.
okay. I think this is fascinating. But maybe you could talk a little bit about your campaign,
Yeah.
and then we can wrap it up, and we can still continue.
Absolutely,
to talk.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Give me 5 minutes. And
Of course.
Okay, so the gist of me running for office was a couple things, but one of the primary reasons was because we have never had a voice for this coastal district for 20 years. To be very candid about it. This district runs, in essence, it's Los Osos up the coastline all the way to Monterey County line. It's all the coastal communities. We in these coastal communities, we have a whole different lifestyle out here. We're not San Luis Obispo, we're not Atascadero, we're not Five Cities, we're not any of that. We're a very unique bunch. I say this in a very loving way. The more north you go, up to Cambria, the more unique the bunch becomes. and Ted can lecture you on this one. The more unique it gets. Remember the show called Newhart? No. There it is. Okay. So it's frustrating because every time that you pick up the Tribune, every time that we would call downtown to get help from Gibson's office, every time that we would try, that people would talk in this entire region, here's what's happened to this area for the last 20 years. Unless you live in Cayucas, you could not give service. It's reality. We all knew this. It's been frustrating. We know that if you talk to anybody this entire region coastally, this district and these coastal communities, what we are, is we are the photographs for the front of their pictures and their calendars and their come visit SLO County. Look at these beautiful oceans and waves and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, here's how this region is seen. Whatever, we take pictures of that. You have North County, Tascadero, Paso, Templeton. You have that region up there. You have the central core down to San Luis Obispo in that area. And then you have South County. This is the place that everybody takes their pictures to put on the calendar. We are not, I'm tired of this area, in my mother's words, I'm tired of this area and our homes and these coastal communities being treated as the bastard child to the rest of this county. We deserve better out here. We deserve representation out here. We deserve just the basics, return our calls, listen to us. We have problems going on in Los Osos with water problems out there that aren't being addressed. We got problems in Cambria and San Simeon. We got problems with the CSD. The San Simeon CSD has got huge problems going on up there. And to know that all of this is taking place, and it literally is treated as, oh, you want to park down in south part of the South County and whatnot, we can get funds for that. Oh, you want an area that needs a park out in Los Osos, you guys pay for it yourself out there. Go buy your own school, that you already bought once, by the way. Pay for it again. I do have a lot of frustration with that. I think my, I will do this real quick, and I will shut up, I promise. Here we go.
Cool logo.
Yeah, by the way, this is, if I can not get in my own way, a little bit about myself. I am a professional civil engineer, 27 years as a professional civil engineer, licensed contractor, Fresno State graduate, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Harvard University Masters of Public Administration. I've got a tremendous amount of extensive work here in this community that I've done, and this is just a small part of what I do in here in this community over the years. So I am actively involved in this community. This is not something I just woke up and decided to say, hey, let's run for an office. I am a member of the Salinan tribe. I am their key legislative liaison to all the state and federal organizations, so I keep in touch with them constantly over any issues that are going on. Today, the Salinan tribe is one of 12 tribes in the United States that's under consideration for federal acknowledgement, in fact. So it's a long process, but we're partway through the process right now, but we're being considered for right now. So we're really happy with that, because it really starts saying, hey, we really are legitimately who we are. You know, and they would only accept us if we were at that point. I'm also a former elected official for the Fresno City Council. Many years ago, in a town far away from here, I served on the Fresno City Council for one term. I got big and bold and decided to run for mayor, and that didn't work out. I was second out of 10 candidates. That's fine. I love where my life has gone at this point. It has just been a wonderful ride the whole time. But I do have, so I bring to this a bit of professional experience, personal experience, and even political experience that has made me understand how things work. So when I see projects like this going on with wind farms, with battery plants, with water issues and everything else, these are things that I've dealt with in the past. These are things that I deal with professionally. I get the game. I get what's going on here. And what's terribly difficult, and why I want to run this campaign as grassroots as possible, is because nobody donates tens of thousands of dollars to your campaign because they like you. They donate tens of thousands, or bundle tens of thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars for you, because they want something. And it's more than just getting their call returned. And I know how that one works, and it is terrible how it seems to permeate our entire political world today. Quick map of this. And in order to keep our costs down, we do our own graphics for everything. So I don't have to pay all these graphical costs and whatnot. That's how you keep this down. This is the coastline. It's a complete coastal district. So it is the only district in this county that truly represents coastal communities, and the small coastal communities. The ones that, you know, are the mom and pop shops all up and down this coastline. My family's been here for many years. Pretty well adept on what's going on here and how things have evolved over time. If you ever like to come by the house, we have great scrapbooks that you would love to look at. But that's basically, in essence, where this campaign is going. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to run for this office. I can't express this enough. What I really need out of you, if you would be so gracious to support this campaign, learn more, you can always go to my website. You can type in michaelerinwoody.com or woodyforsupervisor.com. They both go to the same website. I need your help. Donations are fantastic. Believe me when I say this, $25 makes a huge difference. Give me just 1 second. $25 makes a huge difference when you run a campaign like this. When you look at these flyers that I just handed out, those aren't professionally done. I set those up on Adobe Firefly and got the paper over at Staples, because I am not going to sit here and spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a graphic artist to do this. We're gonna do this the right way, so I don't have to go to a donor and say, hey, donate $3,000 so I can do these flyers. I wanna do it this way so I can say, hey, this is what I wanna say, this is what I wanna talk about, and I'm not beholden to anybody. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this flyer tonight, is that you can do this, and we can have a professional campaign and make a difference, and we don't need to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. The envelopes, the donation envelopes back there on the table, I don't have those printed. I bought white envelopes and I print them out on my laser printer, and nobody can tell the difference because they look perfectly professional. So if you want to see what these look like, these are it. So instead of doing these on a having to buy a minimum of 1,000 of these for $800-900, I buy the white envelopes for pennies on the dollar on the internet. They're the exact same envelopes. Set up all the graphics on Adobe Illustrator, run them through your laser printer. They laser them out, and they are identical to the ones that you spend a fortune on. Nobody can tell the difference because it's the same process, but you do it for pennies on the dollar. And I don't have to answer to anybody, and it's great. So anyways, I will proceed to be quiet now. My mother made all the cupcakes. I do have the chocolate frosting recipe if you'd like to have that. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know we're short on time,
I
but
think we can take a few.
yeah, please, you're patient. Yes, ma'am.
I had one question,
Please.
because my son lives on a ranch on San Simeon Road. He's got three boys, 10 to 13, would love that skate park to be built.
Yes.
So, and there's lots of other things, I've lived on the coast for, on and off for a long time. What are you gonna do different from Mr. Gibson?
Is
Dr. Gibson, please.
is it doctor?
You know, other
Well,
than
you're a
be a
doctor.
white knight and do it all yourself.
Yeah.
What's the main thing that you can say that you're?
Let me start with the most basic. Let me start with the most basic on this whole thing. It is infuriating that Bruce Gibson, and I wish I was running against him, to be honest with you. I wanted to, actually. I'm infuriated that Bruce Gibson is sitting here going around telling people that this wind farm is a done deal. Bruce Gibson is notorious, and he does this on everything. He doesn't care about your opinion, and I know because I've sat in these seats and I've listened to him, and I've raised my hand and I've asked these questions. He's in there to tell you how he's already made up your mind and you are wrong. And you are right if you agree with me. If I'm Bruce Gibson, it's, okay, what is your opinion? I don't want your opinion. Tell me I'm right, because I've already made up my mind, because I've already talked to these people over here, and I'm smarter than you.
Yeah.
The guy's an arrogant asshole. Call them like they are.
I would frame it differently on my ad, but however. Yeah, exactly. The first thing I would do is I would make sure, and knowing that I've done this in the past, and I learned this on the Fresno City Council, is that the goal is to do your job, and your job is this. I'm your liaison to your government. Okay? I bring to things a certain perspective. It could be on any issue, and I will always bring those certain perspectives to it. But one thing I've learned in my life, no longer that I am 21, is that I'm not right every time. I make mistakes. My perspectives are not always going to be right. I can bring to it an idea and a concept and bring it to a meeting like this and say, okay, here's what I'm seeing on this. Guys, tell me where this should go. And I go, holy cow, you're right. I didn't even see it that way. I did not understand that perspective of the issue. And it could be affordable housing. It could be homelessness or whatever. But that's the number one thing I would say I bring to this more than anything. And number two, I bring to it a historical understanding through my family and through my tribal organization of what's truly going on out here. My family is the Pierce family. That was part of the Brebs family and whatnot that helped build the abalone industry out here in Morro Bay. My grandparents were the Toro Creek Indians of the Toro Creek on 41 between Morro Bay and Tuscadero. You got the 41.
That beach.
There you go.
Painted stacks too.
That's it. And so, what do I bring to that? I bring to that the number one thing would be that. I understand that I work for you. I'm not here to take my idea. I'm here to take my perspectives and say, here's my general view of some things, and here are my first ideas. I need your ideas too. Okay, what can we do together? What voice do you need taken down there to your government building down there? Number two, I don't sleep with my assistants. It's a joke, kind of. Okay, is that I'm smart. See, you understand humor. Okay, number two, I take the job very seriously in that respect. I understand that I'm your employee. I understand that I work for you. And I truly understand that. I'm not here to be something or to make myself feel good so I can be part of going to some rubber chicken dinner party. I'm really not into that scene and crowd. I'd rather be out at Foster Freeze getting crisscross fries over in Morro Bay, honestly. That's why I do this. I know who I'm running against. I know Jim D'Antoni, okay? I know Jim supports all of this. Came here from Los Angeles. He supports the wind farms. He supports the battery plants. He's 100% supported by Bruce Gibson.
And he's not even from around here, right?
He came from Los Angeles in 2019 and was appointed as the chamber president. A chamber that refuses to listen to anything besides their own little clique of
Well,
members.
they're all former Invenergy employees.
Yeah, exactly. And going to them and talking to them about our concerns as small business owners and anything is pointless, because I'm not a hospital administrator. I'm not a high-ranking person at Cal Poly. Yes, sir.
What is the biggest threat to your campaign? Other than
Ignorance.
the opponent? Is that big money or?
That's, thank you for asking me a question nobody's ever asked me before. That's interesting.
How can we defend you,
Okay.
protect you? How
Okay.
can we be around you?
If I can tell you the most effective thing to do, and believe it or not, donations are fantastic, trust me, donate. I do not take money from PACs, I do not take money from businesses, I do not take money from any of that. My campaign has limited itself to $500 donations, period, from individuals. I think all that's gotta go, which gets into another situation of why I'm campaigning on term limits and these types of things that finally put it into this. If you wanna do something to help, donations are fantastic. Trust me on that. However, just as effective, writing letters to the editor, places to put yard signs, talking to your neighbors, posting things on Facebook, posting things on social media. If you know people who have farm and ag land along the freeway who can put a great big 4x8 sign, that would be wonderful. Believe it or not, it is those grassroots things that will beat money every time in these races, every time.
Where can we get a sign?
I know somebody with a big ranch
They're about to get printed. Yes.
on the one.
Okay.
Where you could put a sign.
Yes, exactly. And that's,
We'll be in touch.
those types of things are crucial to all this. I could have $500,000 in the bank, that ain't gonna happen. I could have $500,000 in the bank. But if I do not have, if a campaign does not have this level of community support and understanding that what's at stake here, and I know this sounds dramatic to say this, but I promise you this is true from the bottom of my heart. If this area elects a representative that supports wind farms, supports the battery plants, supports all this nonsense that we're all trying to stop, and elects this person, it's done. There's nothing, because what that does is it tells the state of California, it tells the federal government, it tells Carbajal, it tells Panetta, it tells Don Addis, it tells, who's the state senator here?
Laird.
Thank you, Laird. It tells Laird, it tells everybody throughout the region, oh, you know what? They had a candidate. The guy went to Harvard. He had all this background. He's an Indian. He's all of this stuff like that. And they still elected the guy who wanted the wind farms and battery plants. You know what? Don't worry about these guys. They'll make a lot of noise, but who cares? Put it all in because that's what the voters want.
You know, Richard Scangalero,
Yeah.
you know who that is, right?
Yeah. I don't know him, but yeah.
He's a Port St. Louis commissioner that just won, you know, the last election in November. He's a fisherman. He's the simplest guy you ever met.
Yeah.
The only thing he ran on was stopping offshore wind. That's all he ran on.
I did not know that.
Yes, and I think he had a couple interviews with the Tribune. He didn't even have a sign. I mean, that's all he ran on. he went against this Karen Lichted lady, who was definitely pro-wind.
Yeah.
And he won by over 68%.
What the heck?
And
Are
he-
you serious?
Yes. So you're on the right side.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
especially representing the coast.
Yeah.
Because we've been working this zone for 3 years.
Yeah.
And so I keep from Cambria especially all the way down to Pismo, most of the coastal people do not want offshore wind.
No, the interesting thing is that the meeting, I'm sorry to interrupt you, the meeting that we went to,
Yeah,
where we stopped us
Yeah.
yesterday, I'm losing my
Yeah,
days right now.
yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
That we were at, what stunned me was I was watching the people walking up there who supported this.
yeah.
It was the same people. It was the union reps who said, hey, guys, you need to go in there and say this.
Right.
It was the Cal Poly kids who were told to go in there and say this.
Right.
And groups and organizations that were all supportive of this because their groups and organizations are somehow benefiting from this. But there was not a single resident who walked up there and said, I live down the street, I live in Avila Beach, I think this is the greatest idea in the world. It didn't happen. And I
You
talked
will
to,
win if you stay stopping offshore wind.
and I talked to,
That's a winning.
yeah, exactly.
And then let's just take one more question,
Yeah,
and then Michael can be available to chat while
Yes.
we're
Have more cupcakes.
having some cupcakes.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I looked at your opponent's website, and it's very intriguing that he does a lot of on offshore wind.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And that. So I think it's really important for you to pin down, where he is versus you, because he's trying to look like he's out against offshore wind and like he's against battery plants. But he isn't. He is Bruce Gibson Jr.
Jim D'Antona's a fraud.
But-
Please put that on the internet. Jim D'Antona's a fraud. He is. I mean, if I could run against somebody, you know, I did not think I'd be running against somebody who's this much of a fraud. He truly is. I mean, look, he is the chamber president. How many of you know that he's also the chief financial officer for a group called the Tri-County Chamber Alliance? Bingo. Okay. The Tri-County Chamber Alliance is a group of 3 chamber groups that go from Ventura County, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. This group, as much as he will tell you, we got to stop the Trump administration. I'm a Democrat. We're going to stop that Trump administration, that offshore oil. We got to fight that big oil companies and stuff like that. It's total bullshit. Let me tell you what it really is. Because the Tri-County Chamber Alliance, and we've got the documentation from them as well, is up there in Sacramento lobbying them up there to lower the standards and lower requirements for oil drilling along the coastline. We have their own documents for this. I've taken this to some reporters and whatnot, and I'm frustrated because I put it on their table and say, guys, look, this is what he says on his website. Here's what he's saying as the chief financial officer of the Tri-County Chamber. What gives here? If people knew that they were being hoodwinked by this guy on this one simple thing here, we could cremate
He
this
wrote a
overnight.
whole article
Yeah.
supporting offshore wind when he was president of the
Yeah.
chamber.
It's
A
on,
whole
it's on
article.
Yeah.
Michael's website,
Yeah,
actually.
and we had sat there, and this is one of the most weaselly things I've ever seen out of a candidate. I don't mind running against somebody who's, okay, we have different opinions on whatever, I don't care. What bothers me is when somebody gets up there and just flagrantly lies, the way he does. His father is a 40-year professional lobbyist in the state of California. Okay, he is not coming here to the Central Coast as this Johnny do-gooder that he's trying to be. He was planted up here to do what he's doing. His family has been involved in this through the state of California as professional politicians and lobbyists for the last 40 years. Okay? This is serious what's going on, what we're running against. That's why I was saying, we have to beat this. And I know that sounds self-serving, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. We've got to beat this thing.
Well,
So,
that's a great way to end it.
and I can get you the cupcake recipes too.
Okay, so,